in the winter of 2016, there was a show called Erased. It was this really hyped murder mystery slash time travel show that got the attention of everyone because of how cool it sounded and how much the premises was kind of promising, and it was so special. First, I thought it was actually going to be really good, and I would have enjoyed it a lot. I probably would have made it my favorite. And then I watched it, and I got really, really disappointed because of how trite it was, and I was so annoyed with everything about that show, except for the music and the direction sometimes. But other than that, I thought it was fucking awful. Everything was just bad. Nothing was good at all. I don't understand. How do people like this? Our main protagonist is Satoru, a guy who has the ability to go back in time and stop bad things from happening. He's kinda a loner and doesn't really know how to interact with people, but he's somewhat outgoing and speaks his thoughts out loud most of the time. But after we get the revival ability being demonstrated towards us, we kind of see how it works and how the director was going to fuck us over immediately after the ability is shown. Because basically what he does is he shows us a loop of things that are already been seen, and then he plays this really fucking annoying sound that happens when the ability activates, and it's so fucking bad. It annoys me whenever I have to hear that dumb sound just to happen. So then we can get clued in. Oh, the ability is activating. When we could have just noticed if it was just a dumb loop. But who cares? We got other stuff to rant about. He goes back in time 18 years to stop a serial killer from murdering 3 people plus his mom that just happened. He gets to reenact some of his childhood again, and he gets to see some of his friends and help the people who died already. The story at that point wasn't really anything special, but I found it kind of interesting. And then episode 5 went around, and I got really bored and didn't give a shit about any of the characters because all of them were just straight up I didn't care about. None of them did anything cool or anything interesting, and their personalities were just kind of meh. They were like given 2 minutes of thought and were like, okay, there you go now. And I feel like they're just there to fill up the scenery and not really do anything else except clue Satoru in on how to stop the killer at certain points. My first argument when Satoru went back is that his personality does a complete 180 where he's able to socialize with everyone so easily and just be outgoing as much as he can be. And sometimes he doesn't even have an awkward moment where people are like, oh dude, you are completely different than you were a couple minutes ago. There was like one apparent scene where one of his friends were like, yeah, you're different, when everyone could have noticed this, but guess not, because everyone's oblivious. The first 5 episodes were somewhat interesting, I guess. He placed the cameras at certain angles that made the scenes a lot better than regular anime, where people could have been lazy as fuck as they wanted to be. Like in episode 2, where there's this tree in the middle between Satoru and Kaio, symbolizing how Kaio was kinda separated from everyone and kept a distance. If you want to go learn more about that scene, go watch Mother's Basement video. I'll leave it as a link in the description. But after episode 5, the mystery element of this whole anime kind of went away because you figured out who the killer was immediately, unless you're blind and deaf. And that's when the story just became apparent that it was awful and just wasn't good at all. And you kind of just got bored throughout the whole episodes if you were above the age of 12. There's these moments where Satoru has to cope with his problems because it's becoming too tough for him and he has to deal with them. And they only touch upon this like 3 times before they're like, okay, let's throw this out the window. And that was supposed to be the psychological part of the whole anime, and I guess they're like, let's give up on that around like episode 7. And that's when the psychological element was just out the window. No one gave a shit, whoever wrote this anime, and they all gave up. The motives of the killer never really became clear to me. It was like this whole generic thing saying, I need to fill the hole in my heart, and that was just his motive for killing people. And I feel like they could have touched on this more. I would have enjoyed seeing how someone would turn from a regular middle school teacher to someone who kills people for fun or whatever, but they didn't really tell us a good enough reason where I'd be interested enough. They're just like, the killer needs to fill the hole in his heart. What hole? What caused this hole? Why is he like this? I don't understand. Why would they make a killer with no good motive? It just gets rid of this whole like character dynamic, and you just have a killer and someone trying to solve a mystery for no good reason, and it makes no sense at all, and it's so annoying and boring. It's like the worst way to tell a mystery story, because then the person has no motive, and there's just no way to make the story any more interesting than just figuring out who the person is, then just stop him. Honestly, I feel like Erase is the lowest class of psychological and mystery genre, that the only thing that really had going for it was the animation and the directing of certain scenes, plus the OP and ED, plus the soundtrack. But honestly, it just had nothing going for it other than that. The story was boring, the killer had no motives, all the characters had really bad personalities. Satoru was just a really boring character that does a 180 at the very beginning of the show for no good reason. And no one's really built upon. They have like these extra characters that if I got rid of them, honestly, the story wouldn't change. And it just didn't go anywhere. I didn't understand the point of this anime. But this is the end of my rant, and I award Erase with a rating of 3 out of 10. I hope you liked my first review on an anime. I know I stuttered a lot, and you guys were probably annoyed because I'm reading off a script and I sounded really, really straightforward and no emotion in my voice. But I promise I'll get better, and I'll try to improve on my script reading skills, because honestly, I had the hardest time reading through this and focusing on what I wanted to say and how I wanted to express it. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and you guys should recommend any anime I should watch or rate for you guys. I know I'm just starting out, and this is probably not a good introduction, but I'm going to try my best to do what I want, because I need something to do in my summer and has a hobby out of school other than just criticizing things on the internet, like these otaku websites. And I hope you guys really enjoyed this, and I will talk to you later.